Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Allegro Africa podcast. And this segment is called Skoereng, courtesy of Uncle Fifth. He came up with the worst name, and then no one suggested another name. And so, yeah, Skoereng Buffet, Skoereng Volume 2. And I have today in the square, or in the Skoereng, a couple of my colleagues in this podcasting industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Mahloli Makhetha from Unboxed and Unfiltered. You know her, asking these people the questions and them answering. And you also know the person who has been telling us, Tokiso Nthebe, aka TKay, from his channel, My Money Adventures. And my name is DJ Allegro. People, welcome to the Allegro Africa podcast.
Thank you.
I'll ever invite you guys because, you know, hi.
It did cross my mind. It did cross my mind. Yeah. And I was quite happy with it.
Mara, what were you thinking the topic would be about? Why would I bring you over?
So firstly, I was like, it's looking at the guests that have been here. It's artists, musicians and the likes. And secondly, when you called yesterday and you said, hey, let's do a podcast, I'm like, okay. And I was like, what are we talking about? So yeah.
And I did call them just yesterday and they came through and I'm thankful.
Sure.
Wow. I used to look up to Allegro, but he's the most disorganized nigger in the industry. And what do you think I would call you? Because I think pretty much we're interviewing the same people. Do you think so, though? Do you think we're interviewing the same people?
Yeah, we're interviewing the same line of people, definitely.
Right? And would you think I would invite you to my podcast?
I mean, why not?
Nah?
Yeah.
How have you interviewed anyone who has been to my podcast before Atlahoya? How?
I don't think so, though I'm not sure, honestly.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. But would you interview someone from my podcast and why?
Yes, if they fit. My target guest, even if they've been here before, it doesn't really matter if they have or they haven't.
I sometimes fear, what if they tell the same stories?
I think it's a host's responsibility.
Right. To direct the questioning.
Yeah.
I was about to say the same. For me, I don't see a problem with us interviewing the same people, but the onus is on us as the hosts to unearth something that has not been said on a different platform. For the guest, it's more exposure, it's more reach. But you as the host have a responsibility to your audience to say, this is what my audience would want to get out of this conversation from this particular guest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why have you, before I ask you now, why did you start the podcast there? How?
Sure.
Why did you decide to now move from, because you know, like straight out finance people, and then you came to people in the creative to get their stories. What inspired that, or what's the direction you're taking there?
Ooh. So that's a very deep question to start off the conversation. So for me, as much as I'm a finance professional with a finance background, I'm also low-key, not even low-key anymore, I'm also a creative at heart. Creative. I've always looked for a creative outlet. So what really inspired me to start shining the spotlight on the creative industry is I work with a lot of creatives, be it videographers, photographers, graphic designers, and I was constantly upset by the lack of professionalism or delivery or whatever issues they were dealing with, right? So I used to complain and I used to throw tantrums, and eventually I was like, okay, what is really the problem? Is it because they're unprofessional? Is it because they are this or that? And I actually discovered that they have a lot of challenges that don't necessarily make them unprofessional, be it resources, be it payments, be it this and this and this. But also, I realized that we also don't do a lot of capacity building in that space. We expect creatives to know how to run a business. We expect creatives to know how to manage their finances, how to build a brand and so on. They are creatives. They're great at that. So how then do we merge the creativity with the business side or the financial side of things. And as I was discovering my own creativity, I then started to say, actually, how do I use my knowledge and resources in this world and bring it over to this world?
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. So, okay, you have quite a background in finance. So, how about CV? Work experience. Let's go. Before we go to school experience.
Is this a work experience?
Yeah.
Wait, should I not start with school experience and then work experience?
But you did them in between. So what's one?
It's okay. Let me start answer your question. So I started in banking.
Yeah.
I worked for a bank as a graduate trainee, where you do a graduate program for 12 months, rotating within different departments in the bank. And then they will appoint you or put you in a position that you want to settle in, right? So I started in finance. I went to the credit department. I went to the risk department. I went to retail operations, risk, treasury, business banking, and so on and so forth. And then I eventually settled in business banking. I left banking. I went to telecommunications for about 3 years. Left telecommunications, went to asset management, which is investing.
I wish you could be able to tell us the names, but it's fine, guys. You know how it works.
I would actually. I actually don't mind. Do you
Let's
mind?
Go. No, I don't mind.
So
free marketing coming your way.
Sure. So started at Nedbank as a graduate trainee, Nedbank Lesotho, went to Vodacom Lesotho.
Yeah.
Moved from Vodacom to Stanlib Lesotho.
Stanlib, yeah.
Then went back to Vodacom, and then I left to do self-employment TKO. Yeah. So academically, I'm a nerd at heart.
Okay, cool.
A creative nerd. So I studied a BCom Finance, Financial Management at the University of Pretoria. I did an honors in Financial Management. I did a master's in Financial Management. And then I did a postgraduate in Financial Planning Law. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's interesting about my qualifications is I also majored in tourism. So I was a finance and tourism management major. So that's the creative side of my life.
Hence,
Escapes with
TK. Yeah. Great. Tell me, now, also a guy.
The fuck?
I want to ask you, like, I got to know you from the podcast. So tell me your life in the industry before the podcast.
The entertainment industry specifically.
Yeah.
I guess nkare, I'm still trying to break into the industry. I'm a music artist.
Oh, is it? Hello. Feature.
I'm also a presenter in general.
Okay.
Even
multi-talented.
I think the first thing I did was, the first artist that I listened to was J. Cole. I saw GOMD on TV. He was rapping the music video, the whole thing. I liked the vibe, and I dreamt of myself rapping someday. I started off as a writer. I'm a reader and a writer, essentially a poet, and then I transitioned to rapping, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm not quite active with my music yet. I'm still focusing on the branding thing, which is why I started with the podcast. That's the direction I want to take.
Okay.
And then also, I want to present, especially like, let's say Channel O at Cotton Fest. That type of, I was like, oh my God, I want to be that presenter, you know? And I got a gig with LTV for a show that was called Mahloli Makhetha. It was a bit professional. So it wasn't my vibe.
It was a muhi type of vibe.
Yeah. But it was a very beautiful experience. The whole traveling, shooting, I was like, wow, I want to do this, you know? Also, let's say generally the whole Instagram thing, creating reels, TikTok, lifestyle content, that kind of thing. I kind of dabbled in it a bit, and I realized that this is what I want to do. So the podcast offers me an opportunity to present because I'm the host, the founder, and the showrunner.
Sure.
So it offers me an opportunity to present as a host. So that's the presenting part. And then also I do have a team, but I pay attention to details. You get like a director, so I'd also dabble in the editing or the audio and the visuals. So I have an understanding of all those things.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my background in the entertainment industry. Essentially, I'm still a beginner, an upcoming artist, creative in general, essentially. But other than the entertainment industry, I'm a student. I'm not just a creative, but I guess a scientist at heart.
Hello.
I'm going to be doing my final and fifth year I do engineering electronics.
Hey, what's a BSc to the podcast?
Yeah.
Multi-talented. No, I'd say, man. Fifth year.
Right?
Fifth and final year.
Did you say fifth or fourth?
Fifth.
What are you doing? Pharmacy? Did you say pharmacy?
No. Engineering.
5 years. Honors. That's an honors one. There's no way.
Oh, I give it's honors, but it's a 5-year degree. I know that pharmacy is an honors degree, but we don't call ours that. So.
Oh, you don't know. It's not that.
Yeah.
Scientist.
I think it's because engineering we can third year. Kala BSc.
You don't like a little while. What's a BSc? BSc no kawawana. Hansa ba study and fetri do sono.
The new face.
The fuck?
Ofalega like a better image of BSc as this is the future of BSc. I see. So what direction were you trying to take? I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you this. Someone asked me, hey, Kibuna, the podcast, sure. Where do you see it in the next year? It's been 2 weeks. It's actually been a month. Where do you see your podcast going in the next year?
We'll definitely have a greater following. And I think Leseki explore the monetization platform or ways to monetize the podcast. There will definitely be progress in that regard. And I think I don't want to disclose this by announcing it first, but I'll just say we'll be broadening our reach. You know, the podcast won't just offer one-on-one conversations with people that people want to hear about or know more about, but we'll be doing much more in the creative arena or the creative space. Good. So you guys will just see. But I think I definitely have a vision of where I want it to go. So I'm just going to let it head there. But essentially, I just feel like I want to do something that is tailored for Lesotho, but has the capacity to be big. You understand? So, that's just the aim. The next year, it'll definitely be bigger. Yeah.
What were your challenges? Because you started this thing ways. Are we not 4 years into it?
4 years, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it's a podcast in this country where I don't even think we had like someone who was actually really, really podcasting at the time. Yes, but not really in it. So you come in, Okala podcast, what's going on? Is it the time Unomtolo spanning when you started this thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think I've always been a creative at heart. Like her, I'm also a writer. So in corporate Lesotho, I would be blogging, writing articles, and so on and so forth. So for me, it was, again, the double major issue, finance and tourism guy. So my journey really started with a smartphone. Yeah. I was at a champagne festival in 2019, November, and I'm like, let's do lifestyle. So I wouldn't say I'm a presenter, but I love being in front of the camera, kind of presenting, but not officially presenting, because I feel like that's a very specialized skill. So shout out to you guys. So I'm at an event. I'm like, let's do this content creation thing, YouTube. I'm like, hi guys, I don't even know if I'm shooting portrait or vertical or whatever. Hi guys, halfway. So I'm at this event trying to show people
what's happening,
sharing the experience at what was it? Lesotho Capitalist Seek, hosted at Mpilo Boutique Hotel at the time.
Okay.
So I'm there, I'm like, okay, great. I don't know anything about editing. I don't know anything about lighting. I'm just literally using my camera to shoot. I asked a friend who is a videographer to help me edit. He said no. I went on YouTube. I'm like, how do you edit? And then that's where the journey started.
University of
YouTube. So I uploaded the video. Terrible. I haven't deleted it. I look at it every single time I want to quit. Terrible, but I got it done, right? And then from there we started. Initially, it was a combination of finance content. It was a combination of lifestyle. I'd interview professors, and then next time I'm at a gig smoking hubbly. So I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? But the challenges were, one, to start. Number two, you're like, if I'm starting this thing in a country like Lesotho, do people get it? Do people even watch YouTube in Lesotho? Yes, people would stream music on YouTube and so on and so forth, but would people want to watch lifestyle content or finance content? But we got it done. We had a team. I remember one of our flagship things that we did on YouTube or on the platform was Talks of a Linford. So we collaborated with different, with House of Linford. We created a safe space for people to talk. And then we did the first episode and people are like, we want more. And I'm like, wait, so you guys are actually watching?
Yeah, right.
You know? So, but for me, the biggest challenge has always been, do we have enough followers? How do we grow the platform? It costs money to create content. How do we become efficient in building a platform while building a team that is not being paid? Where do we shoot? At the time I was shooting at my place. I would fund the equipment, rent the equipment from people if we needed to. We were shooting with one camera. We were shooting with no poor audio. And there was food on set because we'd have long hours, you know. So a lot, for me, it was financial resources. It was how do we grow the following? How do we get people to support what we're doing? And how do you not lose yourself in that process? Half the time I felt like I was losing my mind. I'm like, am I crazy to want to do this? But then when you see your counterparts in SA doing it, you're like, it actually does work.
Oh, I see.
So how do I make it work in Lesotho? So for me, it was resources. It was the self-belief. It was access to equipment, and then the team that believes in that vision.
Before we started rolling, we were talking about customizing our moves generally to Lesotho. And I was telling you that the challenge is you get inspiration from South Africa and you want to like do a copy and paste. Like you get pressured to do a copy and paste and actually make sense. Okay, with Iran. How would you say your platform now is taking a Lesotho context or perspective, what other people are doing in other countries or in South Africa?
Well, I wouldn't know if it's in contrast to what they're doing in South Africa or if it's similar, but the approach that I essentially took was I'm not a Facebook person, I'm going to be honest. You joined Facebook in 2022. I was active. Let's be active as my market research. Active social media. Who are they interested in, and who would they want to know more about? Then I just thought, then let me interview those people, and then let me merge that with my mission, because essentially I've always wanted that kind of space where on social media, as a community, we're able to have any kind of conversation.
Yeah.
That's why my podcast is called Unboxed Unfiltered. And we have a segment called the Unboxed Unfiltered Q&A. That's where we're not just going to focus on that you're the comedian or DJ or anything like that, but we just ask general questions about life, whether it's taboo, it's controversial, or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I just look at what is the market structure at the moment, what does my target audience want, and what do I have to offer that they might not know that they want, but if I give it to them, they'll consume.
I think that's very important.
That's like, is it in contrast to what is happening in SA, or is it similar? But that's what I focus on. I analyze my market first. So I spend some time getting Facebook, scouring the internet, looking, people value this, they tend towards such and such opinions. This is public opinion, mass perception, all of those things. Yeah.
I think, can I just jump in there?
Sure.
I love what she says, analyzing the market.
Sure.
For me, it was when I started my core focus was on the Lesotho market, right? And I was struggling to find what it is that I was really offering to the target audience, right? And as I created more videos and more content and so on and so forth, my analytics started telling a very different story. I started seeing more views from outside of the country. So your UK, your US, your South Africa, and Kenya started literally growing up. So, increasing or growing. And the Lesotho market was shrinking. And I was like, what is going on? On the podcast, well, mix. But you find that it's not Basotho who are watching.
Cool.
And then in one of my travels, you got a Mosotho who's living abroad. And they are watching, some of them are watching the content. So then that we find the kind of content I kind of do. Not to say I'm excluding the Lesotho market, but I'm now trying to accommodate Basotho who are not in Lesotho who want to stay connected to Lesotho and what's happening in Lesotho. So I think the more content you create and the more insights you get from your community, it also shapes how you package and deliver your content about the kind of topics.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who's your best guest so far?
Beth.
And don't say, no, they're all good. Who's your best guest? In any perspective that you probably would want to rate them on.
I'm going to say they're all good, but not in that way.
Yeah.
Dilapalapa was the funniest. Sidimo was the most insightful.
They bring different vibes.
Exactly. Mahloli Makhetha was funny but charming, especially because a lot of the ladies were the ones that watched. Crazy T was on the first episode. I feel like he gave it the hype that it needed because it's a new podcast. No one's really interested. And then we went to the Taisang. And and then Gold Hearted was, I think, being a member of the LGBTQI community, it just gave it that shift where it made the podcast more open-minded, which does fit our ideals as a brand. So all of them in that sense.
You are coming back to say all of them.
Different energies.
No, but not go escape. No,
I
don't mean it like that.
How do you select your guests? I think that would be interesting to find. How do you know who to invite at which point in time?
My intuition.
So my team will be suggesting people. I guess I feel I just say Hakimufil and then we pass on. And it's not because Hake Murati, but Hakimufili or Hakimufili yet.
Yes.
Because there are some people below Aniksan Haneka, it's their time. And then one time I was like, Gain. And then we have like the best episode, you know what I mean? So it's like
intuition,
man. Yeah, and also to know what's your direction anyway. We are dealing with creatives, so sharp. My you know who my dream guest is? Her Majesty. Oh
yeah, that would be dope.
And I could not be policing because I ain't gonna bring her into this raggedy ass studio
for now.
Yeah, for now. Anyway, yeah. I
wouldn't mind.
You don't mind what?
Into the raggedy ass.
No, for sure.
Because this is part of the experience, though.
Flooring up.
I honestly
guys,
wouldn't.
I would hire the domestic worker, butlers, just for. But that's my dream guest. I feel like that would really put me where Kering. Yeah.
You've made it, and Mama, I made it.
Like, I want about our show. You know when we saw people like Mahloli Makhetha and we're like, he's gone. Or you see like a Trevor Noah in hosting the Grammys and you're like, he's gone. That's my he's gone moment.
Yeah, gone moment.
Her Majesty.
I've always been curious. Why did you start a podcast? I think she gave a very solid answer.
Me, ne?
Yeah, why did you start a podcast? Sips tea.
Okay. I started the dude, you're the first person to really ask me this thing, Aliceras.
I'm a podcaster as well, so.
I found podcast and chill, right? I found it because I think I only have 2 years into it or a year. I thought it was the most amazing thing where we have conversations, Bafetu. Conversations that we have beyond the camera that inspire, entertain, or are controversial. It's every day. Now we're putting them on camera so that we know the truth of Ntozengart. So I love that podcast. I think if I did like 4 episodes, where actually we wanted to do 10, I wanted to do 10, where I bring people who can explain to my followers who I am by interviewing them and them answering questions that relate to me. I was like, let me do a podcast. And that's why we had people like Khabza on the first, Skizo, my best friends, Tizo's. So we only did 4 episodes in one day because we're just doing 4 episodes. It'll be just a content thing. Yeah, every week we're releasing and then we're done. While we were shooting, I think into episode 3, every person on a crew from the city was like, what do you mean with episode 4 fella dog? Continue. And also the crew was saying, dude, continue. This is it. This is something. We have something here. I think also as a result of seeing how I was conducting the interviews and how the direction of the conversation, I don't know. And then I was like, you know what? Challenge accepted. Because I was on a fuck it mode. Fuck it mode was, you know what? Let me stop second guessing myself. You know when you have an idea and you're like, will they like it? I've done that to myself tons of time throughout my 20 years in this industry.
20 years?
20 years in this industry.
Sure.
20 years. And then Mutimo Watla Mukaga 500. The nerve. So
he just went there. Right? That's like,
for 20 years. Yeah. So yeah, I was like, let's do it. And then our next, we just started week after week after week. Episode 26. This is. Did you the last one was 26, right?
28, yeah. I was watching it last night.
This is 28. Well, what? This is 28.
Yeah.
The one you were watching was 26.
26. Because there's one coming. So I was spot on. I'm very good with my numbers.
Sure. Thank you,
very
man.
good with my numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah. So that's why I started that's how I started the podcast. Seeing how people, and then testing this thing. Okay, let me go a couple of episodes. I realized how these stories are untold, how these people have been eager to tell their stories, and it's not even their truth, just to share what they've been through. You know what I mean? Because just one question sparked a whole story that we had to now dig into, and it's content for days. That's why these people are telling stories. And like T-Mac was saying, Label Uncle Fifa, like, dude, you are documenting our stories, man. And yeah, the pressure is on. So you're also documenting stories there. Are you proud of yourself?
I mean, yeah, sure.
What's the research according to episode 3 of Unfiltered and Unboxed?
Have it referencing the next generation.
I mean, people are going to be studying. I'm sure Olimkosi, they're already doing like broadcasting and stuff. So we are creating content for such people. I remember when we were at that Maseruf Bedco flea market, some kids come to me. And then they just come to me to just, make my day. And then they come and say, hi, we watch your podcast. We're actually studying multimedia. What does it take to start a podcast? I'm like, okay, we're making a difference. Now we're doing something. I don't know. Because the DJing thing, inspire, but I remember one person, DJ. You know what I mean? Imagine what it says to me. What? You know what I mean? And then now I'm a DJ. So I think maybe the DJing part is always misunderstood. And some people do create, but the moves, it's misunderstood. But if another perception is silly like DJing, and then yes, it becomes that thing. Nope, DJing is on. I think a year into NetBank, by the way, NetBank, yeah. A year into NetBank, people didn't know I was a DJ. DJ, no such thing. Because I know people but tell the DJ uhlai. And Moon, I did not need nobody to disrespect me. I needed them to hear my concepts, see my work, and trust me. So yeah, man, that's the story.
Impressive.
So like you will more.
Your story is whack.
No, not like my
She's not one to think of stories.
Why are you feeling the need to hide that you're a DJ?
Oh yeah, no, it's a fact, guys. It's a fact.
I feel like the difference is in how you carry yourself. Because I definitely plan to be the engineer that's a presenter and a rapper. I don't see any problem with that, and I don't think I'm gonna have challenges with people taking me seriously.
Let me tell you something. How you handle yourself sharp, but the fact that you listen to one spanning or they are going to just take you as that industry. Doesn't look good. Let me tell you that. It doesn't look good. It only looks good.
Can I interject?
It only looks good how Sheba, the few people, like I mentioned, are 5, who are making it look good. To the population of 2 million people, interject.
I am immune to being told what is and isn't possible based on what has been done and the current structure of our reality. High school level, ke tsa mhlala fe bo poetry.
Yeah.
Ke poetry. Some kind of work thing. But I'm saying I did poetry, and poetry was a cool thing in my school. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not limited by what hasn't been done yet or what. I'm saying some things didn't get mental preparation.
Okay.
And then also people will treat you how you perceive yourself. You get what I'm saying? So la ba hona je khwedi ya pele ka bobedi ya pele ha ikhla mosebetsi ho ga uka wa rapa batla ga ao ha ba tla mpona podcasting ya ka ba tlo tla usana ba tlo congratulate hosane ba tlo mbuka hore ngwanana a go repe ka Sesotho re tletsa theme song ya marketing. I'm telling you, because when I get there, what I'm gonna do is gonna be like, oh, she's so smart, she does, because I'm a competent person. You understand? And I'm competent because mentally I hate that thing hujin. So like, nah, bro, like,
don't put me in a box.
Not even me. South Africa, right? The celebrity industry, entertainment. I get it. There was that apartheid era. I get it.
Yeah.
And then we're all after apartheid fell about independence. So we're all hard workers. How do you think they evolved from that to valuing Nasty C, to valuing Casper Nyovest? Do you think how I get it. And then they transition. All of a sudden she has value. Someone else who's in the entertainment industry, high school. That never happened. Even in America, A$AP Rocky was at Oxford. It's not in America, but the point is he's an American. He was at Oxford. That didn't happen before. Then so the minute you tell a person, that's one of the reasons why I'm a loner. Because personally, I don't have issues with encouraging myself, and I don't have issues there. My problem is people.
Were you called not to a papa skolong kapa o ikgantsha kapa na obite? Did you ever have those experiences?
Yes.
I think it comes from it's a more known how I'm a poet, I'm this, I'm a DJ, only a man or woman of many talents and interests. Only confident,
Oh, you're arrogant.
You're arrogant, and it's usually the painting, the brush is always very negative. So I wanted to understand, where do you get that confidence? I don't subscribe to that.
Sure.
By
the way, before write in the comments below when I want to wrong in high school. In high school. Yeah, where do you get the confidence?
How do you, and I think we spoke about this offline, how do you nurture that confidence and that courage, especially in an environment where 4 out of 5 people in your circle will probably be like, I'm doing that service, or probably, how do you stick to your guns, Yahore? regardless of what is being said or what I'm told I can and cannot do?
Well, like I said, idea to implement. I don't need I really don't need emotional mental support. I feel like I got me on that. I'm very autonomous. So like what I say how picture in the so but like to essentially answer you, I think again we all have those qualities about us that are inherent, right? Naturally, we are born with, right? So I've always been a headstrong person. I was the child that questioned Rona. I remember, I think it was 7. Is in the sky watching us. Like, what's about
girl, not now.
Girl.
Not now.
And then there was both stories like I'm just gonna highlight things that will get to my answer eventually.
Sure.
And then let's say when I was in grade 8, and then I think that's when I became aware of Ndate Matekan, right? The rich man. And then it's either Waloya or he's corrupt, right? I was like, okay, so why about Tubarichi who Tubaru corrupt? Why is it automatic? Are we saying we can't be rich unless corrupt? And then also the Bible says, Hutata for a rich man who gena in heaven, as much as it is for a camel who fit through the needle, the hole of a needle. That one's so I'm like, what do you guys mean by that? So I've always questioned. So I think essentially that helps. But in the end, I'm a thinker, I'm a critical thinker, and I'm an analytic person. So I don't know, when someone says something can't be done, why? If you can't substantiate why, then probably it's your subconscious beliefs clouding your judgment of a situation, right? Sometimes you're right, it can't be done. But why? Why important to one? Okay, so if my major so and then also the whole carrying, the way you carry yourself thing. I feel like I've walked into spaces and I've been taken seriously because of my confidence. You understand? So for me, and then like substantiate king in city sang.
In 10 words, substantiate.
Yeah, so
I like that.
I think that's helped. One thing I think it's not in my personality essentially is until I was 7. I'm a firstborn. Ho Babaza is to make proud. She's the one that gave me that name. On Fridays, her co-workers, her colleagues banzeba, yes baby, no buhlalampi. Yeah, ngwana ho bala buhlala bona ba sekolong, but buhlala hampi. Like she's like Kuri. She said at one time like show ha hopol. Because you shake me and I don't even remember when, but she was like, you're gonna make me proud. You understand? Let my dad, if you're in struggle game, he's not even in the house hang out. But with the little intelligence I had, it's like so I think I realize now that I'm older that because I was raised on confidence, even when I stammer or I have insecurities and all of that, I have the knowledge of the confident me to fall back on. Okay, this is not the person that I am. So I think that is what's lacking in most students, because again, an advantage that I had growing up is I grew up the smart kid. So I grew up people believing in me. And then I'd see that kid as saying, you're gonna amount to nothing. Get the teachers. Such things enraged me. So and that gave me also an opportunity to be the black sheep, because I'm vocal. I think you can tell that. So I got into a lot of trouble at school. Yeah.
And I love it.
Had the results during the school year, I'm taking because I did,
the problem child.
Yeah, but how the results don't pass, so yeah. But anyway, my opportunity to be the black sheep, the good kid when you're gonna do a lot. When you're gonna amount to nothing. No, then if the same person can be both things, then fuck it.
People are consistent.
So so this is what is killing confidence. So again, and that's also something very essential. Look, I think people have to find that confidence within themselves. Yeah, and also there's this philosophy that I follow. It's called Taoism. I'll call it a philosophy, an Eastern spirituality or type thing. But totally everybody has that lead. That is their own nature. So our society is conformist, right? When you go to school, how get out then so it's conformist, and it's for some good reasons. We're not going to make it into a bad thing. That is why markets exist, businesses exist. That is why we have structure in our civilization. But it also has disadvantages. So I have my own lead. Being a critical thinker, always have creative things of doing things. So you need to so I was like, then let me just follow my nature. So I think that's also something that people have to tap into. If someone tells you, look, I'm like, nah, bro. Like,
so
no.
We need to change how we perceive ourselves as creatives, as DJs.
And also, like, criticize how we perceive reality.
It just got deep.
Because I think our perceptions of reality, like, you know how even like our paradigms and perspectives. The world is blurry.
Ooh.
But you just need to clean your glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of people
it just got deep.
Yo, the episode has ended.
Drops mic.
Wait. I think you're right. Because TK Wapola, you always find me when you ask me like how the podcast is going. I'm like, hi, this because of that, because of this. Yeah, you just took it in a deep place where what you said just relates to everything. Because even the industry, the way we're seeing the people perceiving us as DJs, it's about you looking at yourself. Goddamn.
I think on the entertainment industry thing, it means we have a lot of opportunity for growth.
Absolutely.
Like, to the world is in the fourth industrial revolution, like the information age. We're obviously not there yet. But that says everything that's already done in America. How do you
don't have to reinvent the wheel.
It's not done here yet. So people are like, well, so behind. I'm like, but that's an advantage.
That's an advantage.
How is the solar system or solar solar geysers, all of that? One of the 5 people by Lesotho. So it's perception.
And how work at perception? It's always so interesting how and we have more often than not we have nothing positive to say. All they're doing is like, oh my God, this is a gold mine. Like, they see all these opportunities. There's a time when I used to do the Airbnb business. The people who were booking my place were South Africans, Botswana, Eswatini. And I'll be like, you come to Lesotho for a week to do what? To do what? They were like, no, dude, I'm busy with this project, that project. Some of them I don't even know. They're so excited about Lesotho. So about perspective. How do we change the lens, the perspective that we look at things? If we are saying the creative industry is this, that, and that, what opportunities can we unlock for ourselves, grow, and make money?
I'm kidding. I see
And for me, just the other thing, no, there's so many new podcasters coming into the space, and I'm like, it's so exciting.
It is.
Because we get to have a whole industry, we get to have a whole community, we get to have different voices, different perspective, different topics. Different topics.
And also when you approach maybe corporate or projects, they identify quicker when there's an industry. You know, and
now why would you say business?
So when there's an industry, it just becomes easier. Go child. How long have we been recording? I always forget to keep time.
45 minutes.
Timekeeper. You're giving time. You're so good at your number. 4 years in the game, he gotta keep time. Right. What are your on the podcast? Hi guys, Nikki's going to write topics, but I feel like we're on podcasts now. I want to know what's your next big thing in terms of dreams? You haven't really tapped into regarding your podcast or maybe your brand.
I think for me, it's the finance part is exciting and it's growing very well. The finance business, the finance podcast. I think for me, the opportunity lies in travel, the tourism industry. I feel like we have such a beautiful country, but we are not doing it any justice to promote it, to sell it, to elevate it, to all of that.
Yeah.
So so for me, my focus and energy will still be on the finance side because that's pays the bills and whatever not. But I'm more interested and more driven to create more things, projects, collabs, whatever within the tourism and hospitality space.
Okay.
I think my interpretation of experience elevation, we haven't scratched the surface yet, you know, and it's evident in some of the comments and the questions that I get from non-Basotho who want to come to Lesotho.
Okay.
To say, how do we mobilize the tourism industry and unlock great opportunities? When we speak of unemployment in Lesotho, my personal view is some of the opportunities to tackle unemployment lie within the hospitality and travel industry. From the border to the community tourism to sports tourism to business tourism. I think we have such a gold mine that we are not tapping into. And I always reference my trip to Thailand. Thailand doesn't really have a lot of resources, but they've got people. And they've got islands and they've got that. How fika at the airport in Thailand, from the reception of Manang Customs to the hotel to the travel agent to Baoreki Seitse. You will leave your money there. So for me is until Bona Lesotho how fihla moshosho one international kapo any border kapo fihla motseng ofeng kapo ofeng o rekise Lesotho re fela like Renale Kori, how shaba projects like the Bright Fest, or shaba the Wine Fest, or shaba all these events that we have that bring people who are not Basotho to come into Lesotho. They need to leave the money here. So for me, my interest and passion is in that. How do we create blogs? How do we create interviews? How do we create pictures, videos, content that sells Lesotho? When you look at what Namibia is doing, when you look at what Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa are doing to promote people to come to the country and spend money, opportunities lie there. So for me, my interest is in that space.
Bro, but one of us South Africa put billboards in Lesotho. To tell Lesotho to visit South Africa.
Yes. So for me, I want to have billboards in South Africa telling South Africans to come to Lesotho and spend the money here.
Yeah.
And the linkages that come with that, it's not, if I promote them to come here, somebody needs to catch them. They must come to your podcast. They must come to your podcast. They must go to, book into this hotel, book into that guest house, eat food here, go to that event, watch your performance. You know. So for me, it's those linkages. They can tackle unemployment and get Basotho to be the money is.
You know? But is there the willingness? Yeah, like according to maybe your experience locally and while you were studying, trying to reference stuff Lesotho to your studies and all the topics you were on, is there willingness to contribute to that?
I think I could sit here and be like, there is no willingness, but after what she said is we force the willingness, we inspire the willingness, we educate the willingness to happen. Sometimes, earlier to what she said as well, you may give people what they don't know they need, but actually need. If that makes sense, right? So maybe it's up to us to say, how do we create those opportunities for Basotho Bonore? we actually need this, so let's be willing to invest in this. Whether it's hotels, guest houses, whether it's tour operators, whether it's the government or the private sector and the public sector, to say, how do we invest money into this? How about what Netestan is doing, Sesotho fashioning, you know? How kopana about what Joachim did in Swaziland Maoban with his fashion show. I'm like, we need to get to a point where people are just like, where's Lesotho? Where is this Lesotho place? People don't know where Lesotho is.
Bro,
I was in Rustenburg last week, Sun City, for a conference. I met this guy from South Africa. Kere, no dude, ke tswa Lesotho, where's that? Kere, o dula Northwest. How re? Oh, I get a passport. Blank moment. And no passport okay for money, South Africa with money in 2 days. It was no get a visa to Lesotho. I was like, oh my god. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't sit there and blame that guy for his ignorance. Maybe I can, but I also have an opportunity to educate and inform. So Montserrat Lesotho is a mountain kingdom. We have a ski resort. We have this. We have this. We have this. Oh, you don't need a visa to come. It's a 5-hour, couple 6-hour drive from there to here. So we need to become brand ambassadors.
Content in Lesotho. No, bro. I just wanna. Kapons are just South Africa. So I think I don't know. 9 o'clock a visa rang in, but all I want to know, we were passing through Sunny Pass. It was a great experience. The off road, we got to the border, but we had issues with that. We had visa issues. But the people were kind enough to accept 200 rand from us.
You get what I mean? God, those kind of things what happened.
So,
but I'm like,
kind enough.
Keep
kind
200 rand handy out.
I'm not recommending you do that.
Yes,
I realize that disclaimer. I'm not recommending you do that. But I'm like, no. Like, we need to, because 200 day known, those people, there's a visa fee. There is levies that can create employment. So we need to start. How sheba Malutsunyan, how sheba Smonkong, how sheba Maseru. We need to look at it from a very different perspective. I was in Italy. We went to the Vatican. I paid, at the time, it was 2016, I paid 35 euros. At the time, it was around 700 rand to go into a cathedral with a lot of people. Why are people not paying $700 to get into, to go see Malutsunyana Falls? What could that do? What could that do for our economy? But it generates money, and when the money flows in, it creates jobs.
I was one of the hey people. The
Thailand, oh, you want to go on a floating market? I paid 2,000 baht to get on a boat. Basically, how imagine the Bedco flea market if you skate.
Sorry,
you buy me skate. Me say na ditila ye rang. You buy me skate. You paid $2,000. I mean 2,000 baht.
Damn it.
So we need to look at tourism and our tourism hospitality very differently. How bona motho? O bona di dollar signs. Sorry. What was your chelete mo? Ha re bua ka malude, tswa ka malude our golden. Yo, it must be money. It must be money. So we need to become brand ambassadors of how re proudly Lesotho. We need to own it because it can solve so many issues that we have as a country.
And the way we buang, it can actually even boost when fielding more linting.
How le banking, how le insurance company, how le in media, how you speak about the country to people who are not Basotho has to be very intentional. So how sokodisa motho ba batlang ntho a ke le afiski motho ba batla sim card ba tla connect. How we register ke re mo fe solution rona a etse jwang because again auto spender on data no re rekile airtime en ho Mosotho eno commission. So we need to think of the linkages of the tourism industry.
Sure.
So for me, my focus is in that space.
I like that.
And I'm going to make a lot of money from it.
Oh.
Dollars, not even money.
How many years are we counting?
It's already in process. So I'm already getting dollars. I hope.
Oh, you're already getting the dollars.
America, like when I come to Lesotho, what do we do in Lesotho? Why do you think I keep creating?
They contacted you.
The power of online platforms.
Yeah.
Invest in there. What should we do? SEO. Yeah, what should we do? So now 10 things to do in Lesotho. 10 things to do in Maseru. 10 podcasts to listen to. I did a whole series here, the Star Icon. people thought I was trying to promote something. I'm like, no. People who read the blog who are not Lesotho are thinking, if we come into Lesotho, how do people dress? So that I'm not underdressed or I'm not underprepared.
Ooh, yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Podcasts to
Yeah.
listen to, what music to. So we need to be very intentional about the content we're also creating, because there's only 2 million of us in the country.
Sure.
At some point, I don't want to say ceiling, but you can only sell to 2 million people. At some point, we need to think broader and bigger.
Guys, tell me what you think. Decentralization of this. Let me see, centralization of the country. Everything is in Masero. Like, we're doing big things. We're doing podcasts, but we don't see them, and you don't even see the potential of them popping up in other districts. Like, but it's not that powerful. Like, what is it? How can we? What do we need as a country to have movement in terms of development, civilization, creative, technology, entertainment, growth, tourism, at its best in other areas? Like, why am I in Maseru trying to make money out of Mokgotlong's place, where yet people in Mokgotlong are not able to create a whole industry around Sunny Pass and other ditaba tse haufinyane or activities around that?
I feel like I want to know what can we do as a country. Ne? I think wherever there's progress, someone started. I get it. And then when they became a force to reckon with, then someone wants to collaborate. So I am of the perspective, I don't know if fortunately or unfortunately, that no one is coming to save you.
Absolutely.
No one is coming to save the country. There's nothing we can do as a country. In the sense that it's like, if you do these things where we try to finance businesses and all of that, when household who from to a business, because you're self-employed, you're not a business owner.
True.
A business owner, the business has to be its own entity. How does it operate? Most of us were just self-employed.
Sure.
So to help people with all that, educate, it's hard. They don't want to put in the work. So so the outsider came, tried to save them, they're not willing to save themselves. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it's up to a how around Sunny Pass, if I don't really know. If they want to. If then maybe hard but realize, oh, let's hop on. I just feel like it doesn't have to start with anyone.
True. Here's another challenge: the exposure, the awareness, the even idea that it's doable or it's a thing for me to do whatever it is. Let me make an example. Hanky D, I might interpret the story wrong, but what I think happened is he got a job at Tabatsek. I'm talking about Tuanu Mfanaka. I'm not even bad mouthing you. Half someone of man or whoa, how vibe da, how vibe, how sound higher, and that's what I do in Masero. I organize events. I hire out. I'm a DJ as well. I have a sound system, everything. Then he was like, "Let me do this." And the same thing happened. Got another brother of mine, Mahloli Makhetha. Past 5 years, Mahloli Makhetha has been a vibe. If you recall, Kalabagala movement. This guy. There are people. I wish I could. But it does take that one person to say, "Nah, and then everyone just follows suit. But what I've realized, Kore, that there's this lack of exposure. Like, you go to Semonkong, like the most iconic in Southern Africa. The town is like that. It doesn't need government. Yes, it needs Batwan Wamono Shewo or Watwazwagala. But how not train no. I think there's lack of exposure. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's there, but I'm questioning. What I'm saying is, if here's my belief.
Yeah.
Some years back, about copyright law. I don't know the detail of existing copyright laws in Lesotho. But there was some organization around copyright laws that are issued, let's say, or maybe it's still there.
Still under, yeah.
Okay, but people don't recognize, people don't, but I'm like, okay, so like, then what are you guys doing? Like, the problem is that then why don't I just get up and go fix the place and then hire these people? Investor 3%, 4% contribute. Maybe empower them. Equal. Why there's a lack of exposure? Really. Like I feel like it is so essential for us to realize that no one is coming to save us.
You. Sure.
And I'm not a communist or what. I don't believe in government in the sense that I'd rather focus on the private sector. We must mobilize the government too. I'd rather just get up and do it in a way that's like, I guess I'm a capitalist. But because I feel like with capitalism, even if the rich are putting us down, there's opportunity for you to just go to the top. I feel like there's that opportunity. It's something, right? And it still depends upon you and your willpower. Now, what do you want to make out of your life? I get it. What problems do you see? Then focus on solving them. So you're however, Mahloli Allegro, there's a lack of exposure. Maybe Mahloli lo do that. But I didn't really. I get interested in tourism. Tokiso but it's a river type thing. Someone built a structure around it. Okay. Like a restaurant. So below can now patal. But the river ki public property. I'm not sure if it's there. But my point is, people since about picnic setting, what's the point of Mahloli and Allegro sitting here? Get up and do it. It's that simple. If you can't do it, you don't have the interest, mobilize people to
how mobilize? What's the general strategy to mobilize these people, our age mates, our colleagues, to do stuff?
I don't think there can be a general strategy. I think every strategy has to be specific to the context of what we're trying to achieve. I get it. That's why when I started my podcast, right? Like I said, I presented the LTV, some gigs here and then. I'm like, well, so I'm like, podcast. For me, the thinking is that simple. Is it LTV? Like, what's productive in that? Sure. Like, you get what I mean? So I wasn't even interested in podcasting.
You'll be great at this.
Fashion show convention center so out of excitement of trying new things. Keep audition. I want to go back into the message that I have. Podcasting. Some people want to say about present, popular, and then people are like, show and then like, what if it's Jeremiah popular? Jeremiah Jabavu.
I don't know.
Lesotho Fashion Week. He was one of the presenters. It's not that active now, but not to. And he's a good acquaintance of mine, so this is not to snub him. But now here's my question. I question things. What if Jeremiah and audition got in because I wasn't there? Like,
or they were not even looking for that type of vibe. Yeah,
The energy. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the energy. Yeah, I love the
I'm just making an example. It's not specifically him. But and yes, and also I give us a so yes. But for me, have I get prepare. I think in English, honestly. I think in English. But you won't even know that I think in English. But who to represent ka Sesotho fihla motho mono santsa a bua mono but ba go jobe. I'm like, hi, le nna ke tshile mag.
I
get it, and I'm energetic, and also I'm a how can I assess my environment? How can I know mamang hanza I toka re a mo mamang ha feta wa teaming ya batho ba auditionisang wa mo sheba ke go, oh okay, that's the direction I'm gonna take. Alright, I'm gonna sell them the Sesotho vibe. I learned from the okay, this is the kind of things that they like, right? But the point I was trying to make is dog just I don't know.
I know how you sing it. Like, just do it.
Another thing is, but people are like, oh, but you don't have the resources. Those people don't have their awareness, don't have the. I get it. He got to Showmax. I'm going to kana go tsao ke tse mohlala a kere bona tse di laphala bo ma shots bo mang the theater na go ntse the theater ile bona ba thrivang. There was a young boy in Mogotlo a kere a go bala ndetherantsa re ke a ditrata esena le letras and his story poor a sa tsebele TV a sa tsebele papa a ipatala school fee a hodisa ngwana ba batswadi ba hlokahetse a dream of one day I'm gonna be something big. I wanna act. There's that boy Mogotlo. He went to being a hobo. Dog. Literally, okay, inele mokwao. And then I told him about the security. And I'm gonna be something big. So my point is this: when we're analyzing, it's just case study. This guy, we don't even know him. And then Showmax. You get what I mean? So the whole resources. That's why as long as you're looking at your current reality, you'll only see limitation. And that is the thing about life. Life will never be ideal. It never. Because it's constantly becoming.
She's dropping gems.
Like how feel that? You get what? I when I started my podcast, Elena wanted the whole 3 camera setup. I didn't have the resources. Okay, 1 camera, and then okay, I want a camera. Ha picture quality ba mo okay I want to ke lens it let's baby deal ha ke toba lens ke ba ke batla ne 3 cameras ha ke ta utla camera tse tharo ke tlo improve audio ha ke to because it's constantly becoming like ke ta ho ba go big hona nthong hape ke tlo e batla so it'll never just be ideal because it's not fixed. So just that has a sensationalist I want to just start like
it's serious. It's like
literally
just do
put
something.
1 foot in and
I think nobody's coming to save you. It's very true. Nobody's coming to save you.
And it's nobody's job.
Nobody's job to come save you. I think for me, how do we get people to, because it's our new word, to get people to move, right? For me, it came, how I realize that, to when you realize, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So, but this arrogance, tomorrow is promised and tomorrow is guaranteed. So we tend to delay things. You tend to procrastinate because assume. I'll start today, I'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow is not guaranteed. So for me, tomorrow is not promised. I cannot afford to go to my deathbed, my grave. Implement 1 or 2 things whether you're pop or right? So for me, that gives me going. I can't afford. The third thing I want to add, I know it's going to save you. The third thing is, we want to bring everybody along. It's not everybody that's going to come along. Find your tribe. A friend said this to me a few years ago. Find your tribe and get on with it. So how about pitch opportunity? Let's shoot the next episode. Shout out to you trying to crowdfund to Mogotlo. If we want to do that, if she's on board, you're not on board, how does that see? So hangata we tend to want to beg people to do things. Find your tribe and get on with it. So it's not everybody that's meant to be along, that's meant to come with you on that journey. If you have to do it by yourself, like she does, do it.
And like Haneki Waka, like the example what I was trying to say is monobwaka the lack of exposure, which generally is true. But in a hand, one he fatsy. Ibla Halala Batwa fats. Hubaning, Kir, was that boy. Associated TV. Waka papa in a little jari. Marona Loran train. So getting air and a lady, what maybe I can't do it, I don't have resources, but but how's it right now they're building, even if just mentally.
Oh yeah, sure. And then it's like I was asking you now, and then it's like
out of nowhere. They've been grinding.
But I found Luciano Maeza's story so inspiring.
Sure
I'm negativity. So havana exposure go over cloud that reality. Until one about to come in
and that dream is powerful. That
so I just feel like
powerful.
I feel you.
That perspective.
Just give them time.
And
I feel you.
And Allegro. You can have I know people who have exposure, like a lot of exposure, and they're still not doing anything with that exposure. So sometimes we like, no, lack of exposure, but also having too much exposure does not mean that you're going to get things done, right?
It doesn't mean
so
anything.
It's about getting things done.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of podcasters, Steven, the Diary of the CEO, for example, that I am obsessed about, is I'm just going to improve my episode 1%. If in this particular episode we got the lighting right, the next episode just 1%. If it's the audio that we have to improve on, so how about it that gradual, consistent, slow and steady wins the race. So for me, it also goes back to when you start small, start big, whatever, but start and get it done one step at a time.
Yeah.
From one camera, from one angle to two, to fixing the audio, and it can be not even just in podcasting, it can be across the field, in your business, in your career, in your academic life, in your life, in your health.
Sure.
You know, how ya Jimmy, how to so upamisa 200 kgs of weights. You start small. And then you build.
I was not 200, but it was just, I was like, what money did they tell you? I just arrived out,
so sometimes you need that as well. Yeah.
And then you get to that point where I go watching shots over and then my hands were just like,
I can't do that. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for coming through. Let's pause it here. I feel like this was a great idea. Kudos to me. And kudos to you guys for agreeing, feeling the idea. We didn't even have a script. They kept asking, what are we going to talk about? I was like, let's podcast. And we podcasted. Great. Thank you so much. It's not only my money adventures, right?
Sure.
We also have Escapes with TK. What else do you have?
So those are the big ones that I want to focus on now. Yeah.
And do they have separate channels on YouTube?
I had to separate them for my mental health because no, seriously, it was crazy. You have a very serious conversation with a professor about retirement industries. Then the next one is a vlog where I am sipping on things. So yes, there are two different channels. One is Escapes with TK. It's on YouTube and a podcast on Spotify and Apple. And then there's My Money Adventures, which is a YouTube channel and a podcast version of it.
Nice. Yeah. And it works. It's okay.
It works. Yes. I know I declared I'm this way. I'm still me, but this way.
I was actually thinking about it because I put it on my channel because I wanted to grow the audience. My own channel as DJ Allegro Africa, and I'm like, but do these things really go together? Because I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for people to know. When I'm turning on a video, it means a music video is out.
Yeah.
eventing, it's event, DJ Allegro, and not the podcast.
The podcast.
Yeah, my story for another day.
You figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
figure
I
it out
think
as you go.
even the conversations I have with people who follow, what's this? Is this the podcast? Whatever. But anyway.
I used to have people who would come to the first YouTube channel just to watch travel content. Maybe people who want to see the finance content are like really busy at the travel. So it helped that feedback shapes which direction to take. Yeah.
So Unboxed, Unfiltered and Unboxed, right?
Unboxed first.
And then we unfilter, and then it's Unfiltered. That's you, and then it's school also.
Yeah.
BSc.
So
engineering.
You said it's your 5th year. Okay, so next year we graduate. What happens?
I work.
You make money.
Yeah.
So are you gonna continue with the podcast down to the school?
What do you mean get a school? But I've been doing it
On a salon solitaire, and you're fine.
How
Yeah,
the book I fell asleep at
Damn.
home. School is varsity is so holistic.
But anyway, to be honest, I was still doing dance sport. I was still also on leadership. Yeah, dance
Solo
sport. I was
pap.
still doing. Yeah,
no,
well,
no, papa.
next up happy, but an exam to sing at.
Hey, but
I
why
was
don't
also
you talk
presenting
about
at
pap?
Dope FM. I was DJing every
pap.
weekend. I was producing music. Niggas are pop.
But
So yeah, I think it's just that
Yeah.
Kiseki show from you. Actually, I did it as well. Maranekisa is a BSc engineering. Woo! I think kudos for you to do that.
She's slaying it.
You know what I mean?
Fail.
And with that perspective where people can just see it's doable. What if Laola school and you have a dream, you don't have to wait for you to leave the school part. Yeah, good luck with your studies. Can we see your grades?
They're not here, but I'm an A student.
On
Period.
On the screen.
But nah.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been great. We have an industry. Let's do it. I promise I'm going to do the watching that I said I couldn't watch until the end. I think it's best that we do it so we support each other and we're able to give each other good feedback. So let's do that, and I think we should share each other's episodes, shouldn't
Definitely.
we?
I
so
think
that
so
people
too.
can see that yes, this is the Allegro Africa podcast, but her episode is out, his episode is out, and then we can grow this thing, man. Yeah,
Definitely.
collaboration is what we should be doing, and show, be the example for other industries, and let's see what will come out of it, guys.
Shout out to you
Yeah.
for having us.
Thank you. And from me, DJ Allegro, peace. Cut,
Who says cut? Is it you or?
the director, dude.